Hello, everyone. My name is Techno, and today we have another special guest. And I'm bringing on a recruiter, so that way we can discuss about the skills, the experience required to become a cloud support engineer, and what to expect during your interview process. Your journey is going to go starting from the moment you apply all the way to the point to the on-site interview. We're going to be discussing from our own perspectives. From my perspective, I'll be talking from an interviewer standpoint. Tips and tricks on what you can do to stay as a strong candidate, things you can do in the meantime in order to prepare for it. And the recruiter is going to be demonstrating her perspective as far as what is a candidate going to do the moment they start applying? How do they walk the candidate through the process from a candidate to a cloud support engineer? I'd like to welcome you to Becky, who is an AWS recruiter.
Hi, everybody. My name is Becky, and as Techno said, I am an AWS recruiter. I hire for primarily technical roles. I've been with the company for about 9 months now, and I've gotten to hire people from Mexico City, from Canada to Ohio, all the way all across the North Americas.
Thank you so much, Becky. So I'd like to ask you a couple of questions right off the bat. How does a candidate get started when it comes to applying to this cloud support engineering role? Can you just give me a quick rundown of kind of like from beginning all the way to the end?
Yeah. So the beginning of the hiring process is first finding a cloud support engineering role, or you're found by a recruiter via LinkedIn or another software that we use. And then once you get found or you find the role, then you'll apply and then you'll get sent. The first step is the online assessment. And this online assessment will take about 60 to 90 minutes to complete. And it's the same for all cloud support engineering roles, depending or regardless of the domain that you decide to choose. After that, a recruiter will reach out to you and will get you scheduled for a business phone screen. They also might call it a technical phone screen, but basically that's just a 1-hour phone interview with a current cloud support engineer in the domain that you are looking at. And then if you pass that, then you go on to the final round, which is what we call our loop interviews. And these are four interviews all in one day where you're talking to 4 different people, whether that's focused on technical skills or in leadership principles, which we'll be going into a little bit more today. And then after that, it's the offer stage.
From my journey as a cloud support associate, or even before I was a cloud support associate, I followed the same exact kind of flow where I apply, my resume gets sent, then I take a assessment. And after that assessment, then that's when I have a phone screen, which then leads on to that loop interview. As a cloud support associate, I would say it's not too different than a cloud support engineer. The only difference is for the loop interview, you're going through multiple people for the entire day. So you're talking to the hiring manager and as well as a few other engineers compared to the cloud support associate role. But Becky, would you say that they're very similar, or do you think there's a difference between those two?
Yeah, I think the roles are very similar. There's the same number of domains that you can go through, whether that's big data or networking, and you get to choose which one that you want to do. The only difference, like you said, is for the loop, the cloud support associates talk with 2 people, and then the cloud support engineer candidates talk with 4 people. The only difference once you get into the job is that you will, as a cloud support associate, you have a little bit longer of a training period than a cloud support engineer who has a little bit shorter of a training period. So it's all very much similar things. We've seen cloud support associates get promoted up to cloud support engineers, which I think happened with you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the biggest thing that I like to talk about is just to focus on the experience and the background that I had before I became a cloud support associate, because I think there's a lot of candidates out there who are curious to know, is experience required? So just a little bit about myself. I had about a year and a half of IT experience, and I had certifications. I had a bachelor's degree, but aside from that, I had 0 experience in the cloud. So based on what I've been telling you, Becky, are these the requirements, hard requirements that a engineer would need in order to apply, or do you think it's more flexible?
Yeah, I think you should apply regardless of the experience, regardless of the certifications that you have. But as you'll see is on each of the job descriptions. So when you go into Amazon.jobs and you're looking at a job to apply for, you just type in cloud support engineer, right?
Yep.
And then whatever domain that you want to specialize in, you'll have basic qualifications and then preferred qualifications. Those basic qualifications are pretty much non-negotiable for the role. And I believe that across the cloud support engineering realm, basic qualification is at least 1 year of experience. But school isn't a preferred qualification. So yes, I would love to see that you have an accredited degree from an accredited school. But if you don't and you've been working in like some kind of IT space for about a year, you're going to be a great fit. And then certifications are also awesome. They're not required, but they definitely help you as well.
Awesome. So, really quickly on that, let's say if I was just fresh out of school, maybe like let's say I'm a high school. I finished graduating from high school, and let's say I have a lot of IT projects I've worked on. So maybe I built some servers on my end and all of that, but I've had zero IT professional experience. Would I still be able to apply to this role?
Absolutely. I mean, your projects are still experience, whether you were getting paid for them or not. Your projects are still experience. So I would apply. That also shows the hiring team that you've gone above and beyond and that you have that leadership principle of wanting to learn and be curious. So even if you don't have like exactly 1 year of solid experience, but you've got projects that you've worked on, you can speak to them and you can talk about your experience, you're going to be just fine. Format your resume. I would make sure that any of the keywords on the job description that are there, like any tools, technologies, anything that is on the job description, if you have used them, definitely make sure to transfer them over to your resume. And a little tip that I always like to see is I like to see them bolded because it makes my job easier as I'm going through that. Even if I'm like, okay, you might not have a year of experience, but you have all these tools and technologies, I at least want to talk to you and see like where your experience lies and hopefully push you forward through the process. So absolutely keep doing that, but make sure that your resume is tailored if you don't have the perfect experience qualification.
Let's talk about a different kind of experience that someone might be in right now. What if I'm in college and I'm not done with my bachelor's, I'm not done with my associate's degree, but let's say I had IT certifications and again, no experience. Would I still be able to apply even though I'm still in school?
Yeah, well, have you done projects? Do you have experience like in classes that could amount up to about a year?
Yeah, so let's say I have a capstone project, but I'm still in school.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely still apply. The biggest thing here is making sure that your class schedule would eventually align with a full-time working schedule, because this role, whether it's a cloud support associate or a cloud support engineer, is going to be 40 hours a week, regular working hours, typically 9 to 5. So if you have night classes and like you can arrange your schedule in a way where you can still work full-time and go to classes, then absolutely. That just seems to be the only barrier that we've seen with current students applying for this position.
The next experience I can think about is I just finished school. I have maybe, let's say I have zero IT certifications, but I also don't really have a lot of IT projects. Would I still be able to apply to this?
Yeah, I mean, never hurts to apply. You finished school, so you obviously have some level of experience just based on the nature of going to school for
Yeah.
like in like these kinds of courseworks. Is that you've definitely done some projects. You might not realize that it'll count. So I would do some looking back in your time in school and kind of see like what amounts to this. Um, if you're not quite ready to apply yet, then I would say get some experience, do some projects on your own, um, maybe get a certification or two, and that'll help you getting like your foot in the door, even if you don't have any experience or any certifications yet.
Got it. And speaking of certifications, do you have any recommendations on what kind of certifications one can get in order to be a better candidate for this role?
Yeah, well, I'm going to throw this back to you in a second. But before I
Sure.
do that, I think that this is really important because certifications, AWS offers a lot of certifications if you haven't heard of them yet. They are not required for this role at all. You don't have any cloud experience. You don't have to have any certifications, but they definitely help you because it shows the recruiter that you have taken the time and the effort to go through that schooling. You have exhibited learn, be curious, and you're willing to continue learning about things that you don't know. But I actually want to ask you, what certifications have you seen be successful in this role, coming straight into it?
The AWS Cloud Practitioner is extremely beneficial because you're basically given 100 levels for every single kind of service out there that you might be using in this cloud support engineering role. And another certification that I've seen as well is the Solutions Architect Associate Certification. So those two certifications basically give you an idea of what to expect in the cloud in AWS. And it gives you a foundation as far as what are these services and how do they work. And if you're able to at least demonstrate that you know about it, or maybe you've done some labs already at home, projects that you've done with AWS in general, that's also going to help you become a stronger candidate.
Yeah, those are perfect. Those are the ones that I would recommend as well. Having that on just shows your curiosity, and any experience is experience. Even if you don't have typical, like you're working at an IT desk or something experience, that still shows experience. So don't be afraid to apply that way.
All right, Becky, so let's say I'm a candidate and I just applied to this cloud support engineering role. What are the next steps?
Yeah, so after you apply to the cloud support engineering role, A recruiter's gonna go ahead and look over like your application with your resume, any other answers that you may have provided. And then this is kind of where it differs based on recruiter. But the process that I like to follow is if your resume fits the bill and I'm really excited about you, I'm going to go ahead and trigger an online assessment to be sent to you. And at the same time, I'm going to send you an email that's going to say, hey, thanks so much for applying. There should be an online assessment in your inbox. Please complete this. And also, please schedule a quick call with me. It's about a 15-minute call. And this is just so I can tell you more about the role, get a little bit more of your experience, right? And the reason why I like to send you the online assessment at the same time that I like schedule a call with you, so that way I don't take up more of your time and I'm not being like super needy with emails either. So I do like to do it all in one. And then by the time that we're talking, your online assessment is completed and I get to learn a little bit more about you. And then we can go ahead and get you scheduled for that first round of that technical phone screen during that call rather than going back and forth.
Got it. And for those of you that are wondering, like, what do I expect in this assessment? I would say, in my experience, you're going to be facing a lot of scenario-based questions and a little bit of technical questions as well. And it's questions like that on how do you handle cases? How do you handle stressful situations? And so after you're done answering all of those questions, go ahead and submit it. And then that's where the next step begins. So Becky, do you want to explain a little bit more?
Yeah. So after you take that assessment, it should take you about an hour to an hour and a half. You can stop, take breaks in between it if you need some time answering all those questions. But so once that's taken, we've chatted. Now we're going to schedule you for that first round of interviews, which is that technical phone interview. And the technical phone interview, basically, you'll usually do it about a week and a half after our first chat, just to kind of give you time to prepare. And you can visit. We have a whole slew of resources available for you on Amazon.jobs to prepare for that interview. But that interview itself will be 1 hour, 45 minutes to an hour long. You'll be meeting with the cloud support engineer of the domain that you applied for, whether that's big data, networking, deployment, DMS, security, yada, yada, like you name it. You'll be meeting with somebody from that domain, and that's when they're going to ask you about 80% technical questions and then about 20% behavioral questions. So it will be a highly technical interview.
In my experience, when it comes to interviewing candidates during the phone screen, it's more so of asking, I would say about 80% is more technical and the other 20% is behavioral questions. So you definitely want to freshen up, have your pocket projects ready, make sure that you're able to associate those projects with certain leadership principles, the most common being learn and be curious and dive deep as well. So if you can discuss about that, have those projects ready, and whenever I ask you any kind of question related to either behavioral questions or technical questions, you'll be ready and use a star format and you'll be good to go. All right, Becky, so let's say now I'm done with the phone screen interview. What do I expect next?
Yeah, so Amazon has this thing called the 2 and 5 promise. So after your technical phone interview, you should be hearing feedback either from your recruiter or a recruiting coordinator within 2 days. And then the 5 promise is for your final round of interview. You'll be hearing your final offer decision after 5 days. So let's say those 2 days, everything goes well. Your interviewer talks to the hiring manager and they're a go on you. Then you'll be hearing back from your recruiter, who will then schedule another preparation call with you or send you more preparation materials and get you kind of scheduled for that on-site interview. Call it on-site. They're mostly virtual at this point.
And let's say now I moved on to the on-site interview. What do I expect in this interview?
Yeah. So this interview itself, I always like to tell my candidates, it's pretty much the same thing as that first phone interview that you went through. It's just longer. So you just kind of need to have a little bit more stamina. You're going to be meeting with 4 different people, and it's going to be 4 different interviews, about 45 minutes to an hour long each. But there'll be an hour-long break in the middle, and you can always please ask for a break between interviews. If you need water, run to the restroom, get a little bit of food, whatever you need to do. We don't want to wear you out. But that interview is basically just an extended version of the technical phone interview. You're going to be getting the same caliber of technical questions and the same caliber of leadership principle questions. They're just going to be more of them and a little bit more spread out. 2 of those interviews are going to be primarily technical, and then 2 of those interviews are going to be primarily leadership principle, behavioral questions based. So that's kind of what you can expect. Once you receive your final confirmation for the interview, you'll have the names of your interviewers as well. So I always recommend doing a little bit of LinkedIn stalking and finding the names of your interviewers, and you can kind of determine who's going to be your technical and who's going to be your leadership principle interviews from that, and you get to know them better. So that's a little tip from me. But Brandon, what was your experience like?
I can definitely plus one onto what you're saying, Becky. And I would say that from my own experience when it comes to interviewing candidates, the biggest tip or recommendation that I have is to always be prepared. Make sure that you have your technical questions that you might expect or anticipate me to ask. Have those ready, especially when I'm looking at your resume. I'm going to be asking a couple of things that I see on your resume, how it relates to certain technical questions that I will be asking you. Of course, I can't specify what kind of questions I'm going to be asking here, but I will tell you that the more you're prepared for it, the better you'll be as far as how the interview will go and just the entire on-site interview process. So we just covered over the entire process as far as applying, going through the assessment, the phone screen, to the on-site interviews, and now is the final question. That big question is, how do I stand out in this interview? What would make me a strong candidate?
Yeah, so we've covered everything from resume to going through the entire interview process. And that's a lot of work. And so I think the best way to stand out is to, number one, be prepared, do as much preparation as possible. I know I kind of alluded to this a little while ago, but go on to Amazon.jobs and type in interviewing on Amazon, and there's a whole page that comes up with a ton of resources, prep guides, videos, things like that to like help you feel prepared. Come into the interview with notes as well. Like have your important metrics written down, have your stories somewhat bulleted out, that way you're not going to lose track in the interview. So be prepared is number one. And number two, I know Brandon talks about this a lot too, but use the star format. The star format is the best way to keep you organized, to keep your interviewer organized, and to really get the point across of your stories. So just think of it as a structured manner of storytelling, and as you're preparing, write out your stories, write out your examples, add metrics, and be prepared. But Brandon, what would you say?
I totally agree with you on that, Becky. And I think preparation is probably the most important thing. Whenever you're preparing for this interview and you're trying to find out how do I study for this, it's always a good idea to have pocket projects. I've already mentioned this before, but basically pocket projects are, what are some things that you have worked on, whether that's home labs or what are some things that you might have done at work where you can easily talk about it, where it's probably going to be on your resume, and how would you associate those projects to leadership principles, whether that's learn and be curious or to dive deep, right? There's definitely a lot more leadership principles out there, but if you can at least have at least one or two pocket projects for every single leadership principle out there, you're going to be solid during the interview and you're going to be able to explain in a star format and be a strong candidate. So we just discussed about the entire interview process from start to finish. We talked about how candidates can be a stronger candidate by preparing. But now for the final step. Let's say I'm in the process of applying. Is there anything I can do in the meantime to be sure that I'm going to be able to land this job?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I keep mentioning Amazon.jobs, but that's a really, really great place to prepare. We're going to keep emphasizing that because this is such a long process. So, like you're in the process of applying, maybe you haven't heard back yet. Start working on more certifications, start building your knowledge, start whatever domain that you've applied for, start really making sure that you are solid on like all of those core fundamentals of each domain. That way you're not taken by surprise by any questions or anything like that. I know there's also some other great resources out there. Brandon, what did you do to prepare?
Yeah, so as far as preparing goes, of course you can use Amazon.jobs. That's an excellent resource to use. And of course, the internet is your best friend. There's definitely a lot of third-party tools out there that you can use to kind of reference for interview questions. Obviously, don't take those questions as word for word. Just use it as a reference. Try to see if you can come up with an answer. Answer it as if you're answering it to me, the interviewer. Come up with a pocket project and then associate that pocket project using the STAR method and try to answer it and fine-tune it as best as you can. Because the more you practice, the more that you're able to really explain your story and show me, the interviewer, exactly what is going on as you're troubleshooting an issue, or tell me what you're thinking about. You're going to be a really good candidate, and this is the best way in order to apply and get into this cloud support engineering role.
Yeah, I totally agree. Also, just by watching this YouTube series videos, or the series of YouTube videos that Brandon's putting out, that's a great way to prepare. You're really getting yourself familiar with a day of the life. You're getting yourself familiar with everything into being a cloud support engineer. So absolutely keep doing what you're doing. Keep learning and being curious.
100%. Thank you so much for your time on this, Becky. I truly appreciate you coming on here to explain your perspective as a recruiter.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I hope to see you all in my application pool soon, and good luck.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, we're going to be having a collaboration with Becky among other individuals, other guest speakers that we're going to have in the next couple of episodes. So if you have any kind of questions or anything that you'd like to ask us, feel free to comment down below because we're going to be addressing those questions in the next couple of episodes. So we hope to see you in those episodes. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.